ॐ यो देव सवितास्माकं धियो धर्मादिगोचराः प्रेरयेत्तस्य यद्भर्गः तद्वरेण्यम् उपास्महे। धियो धर्मादिगोचराः प्रेरयेत्तस्य यद्भर्गः तद्वरेण्यम् उपास्महे। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृत्रश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो इष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्पर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायु त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतो तद्वक्तारमवतो अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्पर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायु त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। We continue the discussion on Vedic Dharma. We are somewhere around verse number 297. Anybody is following? No. Very good. The next continuation from where we left in the last one. It is called the dismissal of the ego principle. That is the topic of discussion here. The last one we left with, let go of your identification with family, lineage, name, form and order of life, attributes which pertain to the body. So to renounce your ideas of agency, etc., doership, enjoyership, which are attributes of the subtle body. Thus realize your true essence as that which is of the nature of completeness, which we saw in the last class. Okay? So the next one is starting with the dismissal of the ego. Santyanye pratibandhaha pumsah samsara hetavo drishtaha teshamevam moolam prathama vikaro bhavatyahankara. There are other obstacles for the person, other causes of samsara, which are seen. Of all of them, one is the root, prathama vikara, which is the first modification of ajnana. The modification of what? Of ajnana, of ignorance, which is ahankara. Avidya Moolam Kshetram Uttaresham. We have in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it talks about 5 kleshas. If you remember Patanjali Yoga Sutra, sometimes we discussed in the retreat, etc. There are 5 causes of limitation, suffering, pain, whatever you may call it. Dukkha. Dukkha is basically that which breeds the limitation and the struggle that is based on limitation. That is called klesha. Klesha causes karma. So klesha and karma is the one that covers the true nature of ourselves. So what our true nature is what? Nitya Buddha Shuddha Mukta Subhava. Our true nature is eternal, undifferentiated knowledge, limitlessness, unboundedness, unlimitedness, and absolute purity. That means absence of any second entity. So this is our true nature. Nitya Buddha Shuddha Mukta Swabhava. Now, this nature, Satchitananda, the true nature of the self is not experienced. We always experience ourselves as a limited individual. As a person, we experience ourselves as a person. Then, we experience ourselves as this person and that person. The person who is bound, the person who is happy, the person who is sad, the person who is this and that. So, what he is saying is, there are other obstacles for self-realization for people. There are a lot of obstacles. There are different kinds of obstacles that can be there for a person when it comes as an obstacle for a person to realize one's own true nature. For a person to realize one's own true nature, there are a lot of obstructions. Like how there are a lot of examples given how it is an obstruction. It is like there is one example which comes in the next verse. It is like how the moon is hidden by the eclipse. In Indian astrology, we have the two nodal shadow planets called Rahu Ketu. In Western astrology, they call it as nodal points or something called Rahu Ketu. They are considered to be like two serpents. The Rahu and Ketu are two asuras who come and eat the moon during the eclipse, and then they go. This is the story. It is a symbolic way of presenting it. So, like how Rahu and Ketu is eclipsing the moon, and the moon is not visible, but after the eclipse, the moon is clearly visible. So, they are comparing all the ahankara, means the ego principle, the individuality, and all its formations are like the eclipse covering the moon. They are eclipsing the clear moon or the light of the pure nature of oneself. That is the metaphor which is used here. So here he is saying there are a lot of obstacles in revealing one's own true nature. The person from experiencing one's own true nature is obstructed from that experience of one's own true nature by so many things. Of all the things, what is the root of everything? There is only one root of all kinds of obstacles. You say attachment to family and people is a problem. We say vasana. Some time back we discussed there are three kinds of vasanas that have to be eliminated, which is loka vasana, deha vasana, shastra vasana. Lokeshana, vitteshana, putreshana, desire with respect to children, family, etc. Desire with respect to different worldly situations and environments. Desire with respect to money, security, etc. Desire with respect to the shastra, knowledge, curiosity, information, etc. So like this, there are a lot of vasanas. You can keep on categorizing them. There is no end. How many sweets can you make from sugar? Is there any end? There are so many sweets that are the reason for the temptation for the diabetic. The root of all the addiction to all the different kinds of sweet is only one root, which is nothing but addiction to the sweetness. Like that, he's saying all the modifications are there, so many things are there which can obstruct the vision of the self. Of all of them, there is only one root cause, which is ego. Ego, you should not say ego, ahankara. Ahankara means the maker of the identity maker. The process which is called the identity maker is the root cause of all these things. So, ahankara is a process. Also, it is ahankara means that which causes identity. It's a very profound word, ahankara. that which crosses aham. So the Prathama Vikaraha means the first modification. The first modification of what? The first modification of ignorance. The first manifestation of ignorance means the most fundamental manifestation of the power of ignorance is I and mine with respect to a structure. The feeling of a separate sense of I and mine. Why a person feels a separate sense of I and mine? Because of the absence of the knowledge of oneself, coupled with the idea that I am the body, I am the mind, or I am this and that. So this I am with respect to something. So the mithya self is ahankara. Ahankara is the first manifestation of ignorance. And then to the samsara hetavo. This ahankara is samsara. By obstructing the true nature of oneself, it causes one to be lost in samsara. Samsara means the ocean of becoming. Ocean of I want to become this, I want to become that. Why we are alive? Then ultimately being born, being dead, being born, being dead. The whole process. So what everybody is doing, no matter what you are going behind, no matter what you are achieving, you are either going behind pleasure, or you are going behind security, or you are going behind some virtue cultivation, or you are going behind some different kinds of other attainments which are nothing but spiritualized versions of pleasure and security. So there is no end to this process of becoming. So what is it that sustains this wheel of becoming, which is sustaining the cycle of birth and death? That is called, that cycle of birth and death is called samsara. Samsara hetu means what? That which causes samsara. So avidya causes asmita. Asmita causes raga dvesha. So that which is the cause of all the likes and dislikes is nothing but ahankara. That is the root cause. The first modification of ignorance, prathama vikara. Ajnanasya prathama vikara. That's how we should understand. यावत् स्यात् स्वस्य संबंधो अहंकारेण दुरात्मना तावन् न लेशमात्रा अपि मुक्तिर्वार्था विलक्षणा. As long as there is even the slightest sambandha means here the one who is under the grip of ahankara, we have taken like this. Sambandha means as long as there is even the slightest association with the ego, there cannot, this ego is called as this identity is called as the bad guy, the vile ego, the duratmana. Duratmana means the bad person, the mischief maker. There cannot be the slightest talk about liberation, which is totally different in nature. As long as the intellect, I will put like this, as long as the individual is in the grip of the ego or in the grip of an identity, we put like this. As long as the individual mind is under the grip of an identity, even to the slightest extent that is a person is under the grip of an identity, so long the person need not talk about mukti. Mukti is only high talk, nothing. Then you can forget mukti. The mukti is possible only even the slightest trace of ahankara is cleared from the mind. Mukti, moksha. There cannot be the slightest talk about liberation, which is totally different in nature. Ahankara, we have to explain all this. We will go through a few verses and then I will explain. Because yesterday I think in a discussion in the satsang I said ahankara is functional. The ego or the identity is functional. It is not that you should not have an identity. As long as you are not identified with identity, you are free. Okay? This is what I said in the satsang yesterday. But then you will ask, today you are telling, yesterday you said that, but today you are telling as long as there is the slightest sign of identity, there is no moksha. What is this? We see. Ahankara grahan mukta स्वरूपमुपपद्यते चन्द्रवद् विमलः पूर्णः सदानन्दः स्वयं प्रभः अहङ्काराग्रहान् मुक्तः अहङ्कारग्रहात् मुक्तः स्वरूपम् उपपद्यते. The person who is free from the grip of the ego. Now look at it. See, the first, when we give a concept, they will always tell you in an inspiring way. The teaching always is like this. First comes an inspiring statement that to shake you up, and then you will put everything in place. They call it as Khandana Mandana. First, dismissing the ego. First, you will condemn the ego. When the process of dismissing the importance of ego, unless the ego importance is the identity, the identity's importance is unless it is completely destroyed, one cannot get objective about it. So, first what they do, they will completely destroy the importance given to identity. Our whole life is based on identity. What I am. I am I as a doer or I as an experiencer. If you think of any definition, a self-definition of your identity, of anybody's identity, in any period of time, in any dimension, regarding anything, as long as there is a definition of identity of a person, it is nothing but a definition based on doership or enjoyership. Oneself as doing something or oneself as a recipient of some experience. This is all it is. If there is something else, let me know. Okay. So now, when I don't see the inherent problem in this, suppose I said, okay, I am always considering myself as the doer and the enjoyer, as an identity. So why do you consider as the moksha as an attainment? If you take the case of a mukshu, the person who wants liberation, a person wants this and that. I am a person, I want to do charity, I want to make money, I want to have fun, I want moksha. So moksha is also pursued by the individual. Purushartha, it is a purushartha. For a purushartha, there has to be a purusha. Purusha means an individual. Something that is of value to an individual is purushasya artha. That which is of value to an individual is purushartha. Right? So, moksha being a purushartha, it is meant for an individual. Only a person who considers oneself as an individual will look for liberation. I am bound. The person who thinks I am bound looks for I want to be liberated. So, if you say there must be no individuality, how come I will be liberated? Liberation is also for me. So I am a liberated person. So when a person is in the practice phase, they will think how it will be to be a jnani. They will imagine the person is always in cosmic consciousness. Or all the enlightened people, they are all in some kind of a cosmic consciousness. They are aware of everything. Some kind of imagination. I also have when I was a kid, these enlightened people, I thought they have some kind of a different kind of a psyche probably, like how we imagine like this Neo in Matrix, he sees all these numbers going. Like that maybe you are thinking some special consciousness they have. So then this individual is also trying to get that. So Shastra is constantly bringing you to the fact that moksha is not attained. That is why when a seeker of liberation becomes a mature seeker, he is not looking for liberation anymore. He understands that liberation is of the nature of the knowledge. Liberation is my nature. I have to understand it. If liberation is my nature, why I don't live it? If I am the liberation, if my true nature is liberated, that is, if I am actually free from bondage, why the heck do I experience bondage? That means something wrong. So once you are a jnyasu, you are looking for viveka, once you are looking for jnana, then this teaching becomes relevant. So first he says, Ahankara is the culprit who is the reason for all the trouble. As long as you have the slightest of Ahankara, you cannot attain moksha. Okay, you listen only to this and go. You try to fight Ahankara. Who is fighting Ahankara? I am devoted to elimination of the ego. Sir, who are you? How do you define? So, you have a group work in America. I am so and so, everybody gets up and says so. I am the ego eliminator. He gets up, says that and says. So that is, I am the ego eliminator is also ego. So what is this? It becomes another game. Is it like that? No. That is why. So we should not get carried away by, it is also very important in this sequence when we understand. Never get carried away by one off the hook quote from a scripture. In Vedanta, you cannot get carried away by one quote. Somebody quotes something for the purpose of demonstrating something. You cannot simply get carried away by the quote. You have to see where the quote comes, in what context, what is the sequence of the teaching, and what is the positioning, the strategic relevance of that sentence that person is quoting. That is very, very important. So here, ego is to be, as long as even the slightest trace of ego, one cannot get liberation. That means the teacher is not liberated. Why is he talking to the student? Without ego, how the person will talk to the student? So it is a khandana. Khandana means ego, devaluing ego. To remove the value from the ego. Ego is a troublemaker. That means now I am ready to objectify that. And I don't have any great personal use for ego. Ego does not give me anything. Ego, if at all ego gives me something, it is only samsara. So let me see how to handle this ego. Then comes the methodology. Ahankara grahan muktaha sarupam upadhyate. A person who is free from the grip of the ego realizes his own true nature. Attains the true nature. Swarupam, attains the swarupa. Upapadhyate means gains the swarupa. Upapadhyate, swarupa upapadhyate. If swarupa means your own nature, how can you get your own nature? That means you already got it. Your own nature is already with you. What is the point of getting it? Getting it means what? This is a very, very important point to understand. What is this talk of getting it? That is where the whole process of commitment to the knowledge comes. Attaining one's own true nature is a very, very tricky point. One's own true nature is already attained. So nothing needs to be done? Not true. Actually, nothing needs to be done to get your swarupa. Whatever you do cannot get you the swarupa. At the same time, it is possible for you to lose your swarupa. That is why you are sitting and listening to Vedanta. Because you want to get back your swarupa. If you, swarupa means swarupa, my own nature, my true nature. Okay? Swa means mine. Rupa means form, my form. Swarupa, my true form, the way I really am. That is called Swarupa. Swarupa Upapadhyate. For a person who is free from the grip of ego. If the ego is not gripping the self-concept, the self-concept in the buddhi has to be free from the definition created by the ego structure. Ego here means identity. When the sense of self is free from the grip of any kind of identity, the person can get the swarupa. This is how it is to be understood. Okay. And then, how, just like the moon, untainted, pure and complete full moon, which is of the ever blissful nature, Swayam Prabha, self-effulgent. The moon that is visible by itself, because it is reflecting the sun. Don't say moon is dark, self-effulgent. Moon is only reflecting the sunlight. So you will say then solar eclipse. In solar eclipse, the sun is eclipsed. The sun, the self-effulgent sun is revealed at the end of the eclipse. Just like why the moon is given here, because India is a hot country. Because India is a hot country, the moon is cooling, So a jnani is a person who is very calm. Moon is very calming. The moonlight is very calming, very soothing. Ananda, because the Ananda is emphasized here. Ananda means a sense of comfort, a sense of emotional comfort is highlighted. A person who is aware of one's own true nature is completely comfortable with oneself. Completely comfortable with the reality of what is. Totally, completely comfortable no matter what is the situation. In every situation, that person is fundamentally comfortable whatever the person does, the one who has realized one's own nature, whatever the person does, it comes out of comfort. It does not come for the sake of comfort. Emotional comfort is the platform of this person. That is where the person comes from. Now they say, where are you coming from? Are you coming from anger? Are you coming from repression? Are you coming from desire? Are you coming from passion? They ask me. Are you coming from a sense of comfort? Are you coming from a sense of fulfillment? They ask me. So the person who has realized one's own nature always comes from a sense of comfort. Why the moon is given here? Moon is very emotionally comforting. How the moon can be taken as, moon is not Ananda Swarupa. It is not of the nature of completeness by itself, but it gives you a kind of emotional, it is a giver of Ananda. Here Ananda means also happiness. Okay. So moon is a giver of happiness. Who does not like to see the full moon? So of general value, full moon has a general value of giving joy. Similarly, the true nature of oneself is inherently, it has a capacity to generate joy in the mind. The joy generated in the mind is Ananda. It's different. Bliss. The bliss is generated in the mind. When you say the self is Ananda, it is not bliss, it is completeness. The knowledge of myself as complete generates the bliss in the mind. The knowledge of myself as completeness has an inherent capacity to generate bliss in the mind, which I always experience without my knowledge. I experience whenever I satisfy a desire. Every time I satisfy a desire, I have a very small momentary glimpse of the completeness which is my nature. That is why I cannot talk about dissatisfaction. I am always looking for satisfying a desire. Do you ever complain about being happy? I'm so happy for 3 days. I want to be unhappy for 1 minute. Nobody says. You are unhappy for 10 seconds, you cannot take. 1 second, that little prick for the blood test they do, you cannot take. But 10 years, 15 years, 100 years goes, you are in heaven. 10 million years you are in heaven. Nobody complains. But when your vacation is over, everybody complains. Yeah? This means why Ananda is my nature. So I am very comfortable in it. Everything comes back to its natural state. My natural state is Ananda. So if I am in my natural state, the mind is always in Ananda, no matter where the body is. No matter what is the condition. So if a person is not experiencing Ananda, this can be a marker. If I am not experiencing Ananda, unconditional, uncaused happiness in the mind, that means I am not aware of my nature. Whenever you are aware of your nature, that doesn't mean your mind becomes an ecstasy machine. I am not talking about ecstasy here. I am talking about a certain calm, gentle sense of delight which is always there in your heart. It will be there. If you are in touch with your true nature, if the intellect is absorbed in the knowledge of the self, there will be delight in the manas. The manas will always be in a state of like a full moon. Like when you see a full moon, what is the state of the mind? That will be the state of the mind all the time. That will be the basic state of mind. Or if there happens to be other states of the mind, you will come back to it almost instantaneously, effortlessly. That is the sign of knowledge. That is also the sign of highest type of devotion. There also the person is always in touch with the divine. So the mind instantly comes back to a sense of completeness and delight. So if that is not there, if a person is wallowing in sorrow, that means Viveka is not working. Viveka, jnana, discrimination. So discrimination or self-knowledge are completely against sorrow. Sorrow is not possible as an experience also, is not possible for a person who has self-knowledge. It's simply not possible. You cannot be a sorrowful person. This is the marker. The more you are sorrowful, the more you are able to go deeper into the emotion of sorrow, so much you are in the grip of ajnana. So much the power of ignorance is acting in the mind. This is the conclusion. No matter how justified is your sorrow, You may say, oh, I lost my family, I lost my house, I lost everything. Still, you don't need to be sorrowful. That is what we are talking about. The people can cut, there used to be the Sufi masters. I have heard about them. They used to say, Anal Haq. Anal Haq means I am Allah, I am that, I am Haq. Haq is the word for Ishvara, what they have. Sufism went from India. It is a Hindu wisdom which a little bit trickled into Islam, became Sufism. They will not recognize this now. So the Sufi saints used to say Anal Haq, but it is a blasphemy. All the Mohammedans have a problem with this. Allah is God, how can you be God? Allah is God, Muhammad is the Prophet. You are a bloody slave who are supposed to Allahum labbaik. You are here to serve Allah according to the rule book of Muhammad. So this Sufi saint who says Anal Haq is burned. Like how Christians burn witches in the stake, stake, it's called stake. Like that, this Sufi saints were burnt at the stake. So, so one Sufi saint was said Anal Haq. They put him in the fire. When the body is burning, he said Anal Haq, and he laughed and died. Because of burning the body, you think the fact that I am Haq, does it change? How does the fact of myself change because you burn the body? That is the level of nishtha, of being established in the knowledge we are talking about. Body is burning, and you know that you are the Brahman. That is what we are talking about. So when that is the case, what reason of sorrow you have? After being exposed to Vedanta, how can you tolerate 1 second of sorrow in the mind? This should be the thinking. Okay. That is why the moon example is given. One gains one's own true nature and becomes untainted, infinite, ever blissful and self-effulgent. Does not become. You understand that you are the ever blissful, self-effulgent Atma, Sachidananda Swarupa. You understand this. Yova pure soham iti pratito buddhaya yudukta tamasati mudhaya tasyeva nisheshataya vinashe brahmatma bhava pratibandha shunya. Yova pure soham iti pratito buddhaya pratyurupta tamasati mudhaya tasyeva nisheshataya vinashe brahmatma bhava pratibandha shunya. When this identity which has been produced by the buddhi, which is under the effect of ignorance, the buddhi, the thinking faculty, the conceptualizing faculty, which is under the grip of ignorance, overpowered by ignorance, it produces identity, ahankara, and it is perceived. How do you know the ahankara is produced? You experience the ahankara as I am this, I am that, I am so and so. In the sense, it is like Saha aham iti pratitah, which is perceived as Saha aham. Soham iti pratitah means you should not mix with Soham, I am that. Here it means Saha aham. Saha is second person. It is seen as I am that, I am this, I am that. I am a man, I am a teacher, I am a student, I am a daughter, I am a father, I am a mother. All these we say, I am a husband, I am a wife. So all these identities about it is manifested in the body. Here, buddhaya praliptas tasmadati mudaya sohamati. Pure means in the body. Yova pure sohamati pratito. In the body, it is manifested as I am so and so. It's like, for example, you can experience this. No? The person, the one who is wearing the ringless spectacle is the most handsome person in this room. There is only one person who is wearing the ringless spectacle. When you see how that sense of that me comes, they are talking about me. I am the handsome one. Suppose, also when you go into a cafe or something, like this, you go to this Mac cafe somewhere, you are sitting and with your friends, whatever. In the next table, they are gossiping about you. Okay? Some people who are interesting for you. They are gossiping about you. If you are a male, consider them a female. If you are a female, they are male. Okay. They are gossiping about you positively. But something very nice about it. When you are walking to pay the bill or whatever, you make the next order, somehow you pick up that. Then suddenly you will see that thing coming up in the body. Me. That is how in the body, ahankara appears as I am that. That is what he is talking about. Why? It is that behind that is a huge history of lives and lives lived under the power of ignorance. Living millions of lives under the power of ignorance is causing that. So it's not an easy thing. No, it is a huge. There is a huge history behind every time you feel I am in the body. That comes. Okay. Buddhaya. But because of the power of ignorance, it is produced by the intellect diluted by the ignorance in the body. I am so and as I am so and so. When the sensation of I am so and so arises in the body, when this delusion is totally annihilated, one attains unobstructed oneness with Brahman. Brahmatma, what happens when it is tasyaiva nisheshadaya vinashe, without a trace, when this tendency is eliminated from the mind. Brahmatma bhavaha, Brahma Atma bhavaha, pratibandha shunya. The bhava means the feeling that I am Brahman. The feeling that I am Brahman is without any obstruction. Brahman, what is this feeling that I am Brahman? Just like feeling I am so and so, I am feeling I am Brahman. Is it like that? Yes and no. It is not the quality of I am Brahman is very different from the quality of I am so and so. It is called as Akanda Avagahini Chinmatra Vritti. The Viveka Chudamani later he will define what is it. It's called Prajna Vritti. We will see later. Okay, put it under reservation. This feeling that I am Brahman Bhavana. Aham, Brahma Atma Bhava. Brahman as me. Brahma Atma Bhava means feeling that Brahman is my true nature. That means feeling oneself as Brahman. The self-concept is completely transformed as Brahman, means there is nothing else. It cannot be described so easily. It is a result of Shravana Manana Nidhyasana. When you listen, when you understand, and when you constantly remember and come back to this understanding across different life situations, which is called Nidhyasana, it gets established. By the power of Nidhyasana, when it becomes your intrinsic everyday experience of your own self as Brahman. Experience here means you don't experience yourself as the individual. Experience of oneself as Brahman can be explained as not experiencing oneself as the individual under any circumstance. That can be. So then that person is completely established in the feeling that I am the whole. Brahmatma Bhava, Pratibandha Shunya, without any. Here, this whole teaching is after the person has attained the knowledge. So, the person who has the knowledge knows what we are talking about. It is a certain sense of undifferentiated feeling about oneself. The essence of the word I even say ego. Behind the ego, without any conditions, if you isolate only that awareness aspect, that is abiding in itself. And the buddhi, if the buddhi is aware of an objective entity because of the body, because of the sense faculties, mind, etc. In the consciousness, if there is a worldly consciousness, whatever is the content of the worldly consciousness is resolved in the sense of self. All this is me. I am all that is. I alone am. It comes like that. It's a feeling. It's called Akandakara Vritti. That is what he is talking about. That Akandakara Vritti will be without any obstruction. It will not be clouded. It will be a very clear, shining fact of life 24 hours. Then what comes next? The ego is that we saw. Brahmananda Nidhir Mahabalavata Ahankara संवेष्ट्यात्मनि रक्ष्यते गुणमयाय चंदेस्त्रिभिर्मस्तकैः विज्ञानाख्यं महाशिना श्रुतिमता विच्छिद्य शीर्षत्रयं निर्मूल्य हीमिमं निर्मूल्याहिम् इमां निधिं सुखकरं धीरो अनुभोक्तुं क्षमः. The treasure of Brahmananda Nidhi, the happiness that is born of the knowledge that I am the whole, okay? The joy that is born, the sense of completeness that is born of the knowledge that I am the totality. That is Brahmananda Nidhi. Nidhi means the wealth. The wealth which is the happiness, that is the result of self-knowledge. Is being enwrapped by the great serpent of Ahankara. It is another analogy. It is guarding the self in the mind, Gunamayehi, made up of the three gunas, Chandehi, by the fierce three hoods. Now the serpent has three heads. Three-headed serpent, which is nothing but the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. It is covering the treasure of the bliss of your own true nature. Vijnana Akhya, named realization, Maha Asina, with the great sword, Shrutimata, in accordance with the teaching of the Veda, Vichidhya, severing the three hoods, Nirmulya, destroying completely this serpent, Sukhakaram, this treasure which is the giver of the happiness, true happiness, the wise person to enjoy, becomes fit. This great serpent in the mind, which is nothing but the ahankara created by the three qualities of nature, sattva, rajas and tamas, which is the identity, the wise person, that is to be destroyed by the wise person by severing its three heads with the great shining sword of realization, which is obtained in accordance with the teachings of the Shruti. Only such a person alone can enjoy this treasure which brings bliss. There is this big serpent called the Ahankara, which has three heads, that is guarding this treasure of the true nature of the bliss of yourself in the mind. The person who destroys cuts these three heads of the serpent with the sword of what? Viveka Vijnana. Vijnana Akhya. Vijnana Akhya means what is Vijnana? The knowledge. Maha Asina, with the great sword, Shrutimata. Using the sword of knowledge. Vijnana. Vijnana means knowledge. Shrutimata. Vijnana, which is obtained according to the teaching of the Shruti. If you see the whole, in every point where it is relevant, they keep insisting on Shruti Mata. For example, in Sadhana Panchamam, Acharya says, Dustarkachu viramyatam Shruti Matah tarko nusandhiyatam. Keep away from perverse logic. Resort to the logical analysis which is in keeping with the Shruti. Shruti Mataha. Shruti Mataha means the intellect that thinks according to the guidelines given by the Shruti. What is Shruti? You remember? Shruti. What is Shruti? Shruti means the revealed knowledge of the self which is in the Upanishads, Vedanta. Shruti here means Vedanta. Vedanta means Upanishad, not Viveka Chudamani. Viveka Chudamani is based on Vedanta. The core Vedanta is revealed knowledge. You are Brahman is a revealed knowledge. You are Brahman cannot be attained by logical analysis alone. But using a logical analysis guided by the vision of the scripture. That is what it means. Shruti Mataha means the intellect that is thinking in the line of the scripture, not thinking in its own way. It is not logic for logic's sake. It is logic for the sake of realization. So the logic that is guided by a sequence of thinking that is in the scripture. You should not even say scripture, that is in the Veda, in the Shruti. So the logic guided by the Shruti leads to Jnana. So this Jnana, which is the result of the thinking that has been nourished in the line of the Shruti, and also using this knowledge to cut these three heads of this great serpent called the ego, this individuality, which has three heads, means what? It has a sattvic ego, there is a tamasic ego, and there is a rajasic ego. There are three different heads, it has three different faces, it keeps coming, changing. Then it comes to the very whole, you cut the tamasic face. The lazy ego is bad. Then the passionate ego is bad. And the holy ego comes. I am the practitioner. That is sattvic head. That's very nice looking head. But that is also, as long as the serpent is there is one beautiful story by, because this three head, three gunas is there, it is good to remember the story. The beautiful story is told by Sri Ramakrishna. There is one great saint who was in the 19th century. So he says, a person goes in a forest. He's traveling from his, he went around and then he's coming back home. But he has to go through a forest. In the forest, in the forest part, three dacoits. This is, dacoit who blocks a person in the way and tries to steal the stuff. Three dacoits stop. They rob all his wealth. The first dacoit said, okay, let's kill this guy. What do we do? He goes, complains to the police and all that problem. Kill him. Take the stuff, kill him, what's the big deal? And then the second person said, no, don't kill him. We will just tie him to the tree. And then we'll go. Maybe some lion tiger or something will eat. It's not our problem. We'll tie him to the tree. We will not kill him. We'll tie him to the tree and go. And after, then they all leave. The third guy, after they leave, the third guy comes. Don't worry. Then the Rajas guy tied him to the tree. No, he was not killed. And the third guy comes and says, okay, they are all gone. I know it's a very dense forest now, it is very dark, you cannot reach home. I will untie you from the tree. I will show you up to the end of the forest from where you can go to the village by yourself. You will see the road. I will leave you there and then I will go my way. And then this sattvic, this is the sattvic ego. The thief comes, unties him, takes him up to the village. Near the road that leads to the village. And he says, okay, now I am going back. And this person got attached. He was such a nice person. Why are you a thief? Why don't you come with me to the village? I will introduce you to my family. I will introduce you to the village. I will give you a job there. No. You don't take me with you. No matter what you say, I am a thief. I should not come to the village. My place is back to the forest. You go. You cannot take me with you. I cannot come to the village. I don't belong to the village. What if the person is very attached to this thief? He has to forget his family and everything and stay with the thief. So this thief who wanted to kill this wayfarer, this thief who wanted to kill is the equivalent, the metaphor for tamas. The thief who wanted to tie him to the tree is rajas, tying you to the cycle of activity, samsara. Now you are very tied to one tree in the forest of samsara, one little thing which is very attractive, you are stuck with that, Rajas makes you stuck with something. Then the sattva liberates, but sattva cannot liberate you fully. It will only take you up to the point. Once you come to Viveka, you should drop sattva also. And then kill the true nature. So that is a beautiful story told by Ramakrishna. As we progress more and more in our self-purification, and as the Viveka becomes sharper and sharper, we can understand the beauty of this story. So even though sattva is a helpful factor when compared to tamas and rajas, sattva is something that takes you towards liberation. Sattva cannot accompany you all the way to your true nature because you are neither sattva nor rajas or tamas. Sattva also you have to drop back and walk past sattva. That is why the ego serpent, the individuality serpent comes in three heads and it is covering the true nature of yourself. So using your knowledge, according to the proper method taught by Vedanta. May you cut the 3 heads of the serpent. And then, such a person who is able to do this, only that person can enjoy this true treasure of one's own true nature, which brings bliss. What is the treasure? Brahmananda Nidhi, the joy that is born of the realization of the fullness of one's own nature. This treasure, you gain this treasure and enjoy. That is the Yavadva yat kinchit vishadoshas spurtirasti che dvehe Katamarogyaya bhave dvadahantapi yogino muktyayi. As long as there is even a trace of poison left in the body, how can a person hope to attain full health or recovery to full health? In the same way, as long as even the slightest trace of the sense of individuality is there, the yogi cannot attain liberation. That is it. So, as long as there is even the slightest trace of poison left in the body, one cannot hope for sustained good health. Similarly, one cannot hope for a proper liberation. One cannot hope for liberation as long as there is the slightest trace of the ego. Ahamotyanta nivritya tat kritanana vikalpa samhritya pratyak tattva vivekadi dam ahamasmi iti vindate tattvam. Ahamaha atyanta nivrittaya. By the atyanta means to its end, nivrittaya, to the complete cure or complete cessation of nivrittaya means when it is completely removed. As when the ego sense ahamaha means the tendency to consider oneself as this and that. When the tendency to consider oneself as this and that is completely stopped, tatkrita, all tatkrita nana vikalpa samhritya, and by restraining the different mental waves, nana vikalpa means all the different kinds of imagination that is created by this sense of individuality, pratyak tattva viveka, through the discrimination of the reality that is abiding inside everything. Idam aham asmi, I am this. Thus, within the day, experiences the truth. Very good. So, there are two things talked about here. First step is nana tatkritya nana vikalpa samhritya. Samhritya means samhati, to destroy completely. Destroying the different imaginations created by ego. How? By completely eliminating the process of the creation of identity. The different ideas and the thoughts and the whole forest of this mental noise that is created by the process called the individualization. The individualization process is sustaining the whole show. So, how do I destroy the whole thing? By nivritti, by absorbing back into its source this process that creates individuality. Okay? And how that is done? Pratyak tattva viveka. It is done by the pratyak tattva viveka. That means viveka, by pratyak tattva, the truth that is within. The discrimination of the truth that is within. Tattva, the reality that is within. The reality that is within means don't look into the body. Reality that is within means the reality that is inherent in everything. Apparently something is mithya, but mithya is not separate from satya. So when I see the mithya, may I recognize the satya? That is pratyak tattva viveka. Whenever I see whenever I see a pot, I recognize the clay. So see every pot as clay. That is recognizing the inherent clay in a pot. The clay that is the reality inside every pot. So do you look inside the pot? No. So here it means it is the same way you don't look inside the body. Whatever you say, the sense of self, whatever is the sense of identity that you have, the identity is the name and form and the condition. But within that condition shines the self-effulgent awareness, because of which the condition is sustained. So may you separate. There is one analysis which is given in you have to separate the self from the not self, like how you will remove the tender skin of the bamboo from inside. If you cut the bamboo longitudinally, inside the bamboo there is a very small skin, and also there is a special grass where it has an outer covering and then it has a certain tender thing inside, which is very useful for making a lot of crafts. Like let us say this golden grass, they say, no? They make a lot of handicrafts with that. You go to IKEA, you see some things made of some grass coming from Cambodia, Vietnam. So that's called munja grass. So in the munja grass, to separate the essence of the munja grass, like how you separate that? Like that, in a very subtle process, you remove the self from the not self. It's an analysis given. So which means, with the very high level of attentiveness of self-observation, of how my sense of ego, how my identity, and how my sense of doership and enjoyership. In every sense of doership and enjoyership, every experience of myself as an individual, let me separate my true nature from the individuality. There may be an individuality that is functional. Let me not be identified with the individuality. Let me discriminate my true nature away from the individuality. What are you doing? I am eating. Am I eating? Immediately mind should say, am I eating? That is pratyak tattva viveka. Means what is eating? The body is eating. The mind is aware of the eating. The buddhi is experiencing through the sense faculty the sensation of eating. For the sake of explaining to somebody what are you doing, they are asking the mind and body, it is a living body. So you have to give an answer, what are you doing? I am eating, because somebody is on the phone. What are you doing? Can you go and do this now? No, I cannot do now. I am eating. Let me do after the dinner. You cannot say the body and the mind complex is eating and I am witnessing. You cannot say that. You have to say I am eating. If you say all that, that means you are a nut. So you should not become a Vedanta nut. So when you say I am eating, in the background, what is Viveka? Am I eating? As you say I am eating, you know that I am not eating. The one who sees inaction in action, the one who sees non-action in action, and the one who sees action in non-action, that person truly sees Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So non-action in action, I am the akarta, I am abhokta, I am not the doer, I am not the experiencer. While action is going on, while experiences are happening to the mind. So every time my individuality comes, I see the mithya nature of the individuality by understanding the satya nature of me, which is not the individuality. By seeing me as not the individual in every experience, I separate the true nature of myself, which is inherent in every experience. Yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra samadaya. It comes in Dridrishya Viveka. It says wherever the mind goes, there and there is samadhi on the self. For a person who has steady discrimination. Avidya, aviplava, Viveka Khyati, aviplavahanopaya. The flame of discriminative awareness applied constantly is the antidote for this disease called ignorance, which creates the whole noise. So, eliminating the mental noise, which is sustained by the intellect, by discriminating the self out of the individuality, which is sustained by the individuality. The whole mental noise sustained by the individuality is destroyed by discriminating the self from the individuality, and as a result of that, the whole structure collapses because the whole thing is sustained by losing oneself into the individuality. So that is the addition. When you do that, what happens? When you ask me, I am this, Vindade, Tattvam, the absolute reality is experienced as the first person I am, which is not any object-based awareness. I am this is something very close to, it is exactly what Ramana Maharshi used to teach. Yes, every time you say I am this and I am that, seek to trace this sense of I that is inherent, the awareness that is inherent in every sense of identity. Inside every kind of identity, there is an unconditioned state of self-awareness. By discriminating that as the common factor that is not dependent on the identity, by seeing that as separate from the identity, may you realize the truth which shines as the self-effulgent I am this. No, it is what he says as idam maham asmi iti vindate tattvam. One experiences the reality as this I am. This pure unconditioned awareness I am. What is this awareness I am? How you experience yourself as a pure, complete, unconditioned self-experience. Okay? The pure, unconditioned, unbroken, unconditioned, without any demarcation, subject, object, non-dual self-experience. Non-dual self-experience means there is no subject-object duality in this. I am experiencing myself as I am, without any of the conditions attached to me, without any label. Self-experience, one experiencing oneself, the simple, unconditioned, pure sense of self, which is not conditioned by the mind. We will say that. The self-experience that is not conditioned by any mental process, by any process of the buddhi. That which is experienced, that experience of oneself, that is the tattvam, means that is that ultimate truth which is everything. This is to be understood. Okay? This self-experience which is unconditioned, this self that I experience, this me that I experience when there are no mental conditions present, the self that I experience, this me, this is my true nature, this is Brahman. To be understood like that. Brahman is to be understood as this me. This me is to be understood as Brahman. The understanding is for the buddhi. So that understanding which is given to the buddhi about this self, about me, eliminates all the wrong conceptions that are created in the buddhi. That removes the ajnana, that removes the ignorance. When it removes the ignorance, the one rises above knowledge and ignorance. You are as you are. Okay. So then it is another story. So that is what we are talking about. Ahankare kartyahamiti mathim muncha sahasa vikaratmanyatma pradiphala jushi swasthit timushi yadadhyasat prapta jani mriti jara dukha bahula praticha shichan mutrestava sukhatanoho samsriti riyam. Chinmurte pratichaschinmurte stava sukhatanoho samsritiriyam. Okay. The ahankare kartari aham iti madhim. The idea that I am the doer, identification. Identifying with the sense of doership, which is because of the ego principle. Get rid of that. Sahasa, immediately, vikaratmani, which is mutable. Okay. The renounce immediately your identification with the individuality, the sense of doership, which being a modification is merely the reflection of the self. Vikaratmani, Atma Pratiphala Jushi, which is lit up by the reflection of the self. Swasti Mushi, the one who diverts the person from being established in the self. Yat Swasthiti Mushi. Swasthiti, that what is the sense of doership is a reflection of the sense of I am in the buddhi. Because of ahankara, the self is reflected. It's a process which you have discussed so many times. How the light of the self is carried over by the buddhi, and that is reflected in the mind. And because the sense of self is reflected in the mind, it is creating a sense of I am doing. Okay. So this I am doing is only a functional appearance, which is not your reality. It will appear like this, but it is not true. The sun will appear in the reflection of the moon, or the sun will appear in the pond, but that is not the sun. So every time, as long as there is a pond reflecting the sunlight, I am going to see the sun in the pond. But I cannot try to eliminate the sun because I cannot eliminate the pond, nor can I eliminate the sun. When I cannot eliminate the pond and I cannot eliminate the sun, how can I eliminate the reflection of the sun in the pond? So, may you understand that it is only a reflection. Similarly, the sense of doership that is created by this ego principle is nothing but because it is nothing but the reflection of the true nature. It is a vikaratmani. It is a kind of a modified sense of self. Okay? The sense of doership is nothing but a modified sense of self. The I am in the sense of doership. There are two things. I am doing. I am doing. When you say I am doing, the I am is of a different quality. Over this I am doing, I am, over this pure I am, there is a sense of I am doing. There is action. The I am experienced in the context of action tends to be considered as I am doing. That is a mistake. The I am is experienced in the context of doing does not mean the I am is doing. So, understanding this, may you free this sense of the true sense of self from the doership. So, renounce the sense of doership by understanding that it is only an appearance, it is not my true nature. So, don't consider yourself, do not encourage the sense of doership. Renounce the sense of doership. That is what he said. Okay. Merely a reflection of it. It detracts. Why it should be renounced? Because it detracts the person from being established in the self. Identifying yourself with this sense of doership, you have reached this embodied existence. Yet, adhyasat, because of the superimposition, prapta, jani vritti jara dukkha bahula, all this cycle of miseries of birth, death, old age, etc. This cycle of misery and struggle is a result of nothing but considering myself as a doer and enjoyer. Because of strengthening the sense of doership and enjoyership, you have come to be caught in the cycle of birth and death. So, may you renounce this sense of doership. The next chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. That is what we are going to be talking about. This is very, very elaborately in the next fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Cognitively renouncing the sense of doership in the middle of action and everything. Okay. So, Jnana Karma Sannyasa. Renunciation of the sense of doership with the power of knowledge. That is the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which we will be seeing. Okay. Why the sense of doership is to be renounced? Because it is the cause of samsara. So a person who is desiring moksha must not encourage the self-definition that comes from doership and enjoyership. So may you renounce it. It is only an appearance, that is not your true nature. And although essentially Chinmurtehe, you are of the nature of pure consciousness. Sukhatanoho, who is of the body, no, whose nature, who is embodiment of bliss. Sukhatanoho means whose body is nothing, whose body is happiness. You are that self-effulgent consciousness. Sukhatanoho, whose body is happiness. It's a way of presenting. Okay, it's a metaphor. Samsiddhi yam, this. So this. For you, whose nature is pure consciousness, this sense of being caught in the samsara has come about because you are identified with the sense of doership and enjoyership. So if the sense of doership and enjoyership is false, is samsara, which is the product of what is false, is it real? It is not real. So this whole samsara is nothing but a very unfortunate sequence of imagination about oneself. The whole samsara is because of the non-factual imagination about oneself, which is not one's reality. Your reality is complete freedom from any kind of limitation. So why do you feel limited? Because of identifying with the different ego processes, which are all nothing but taking the sense of self, defining the sense of self based on actions and experiences. May you not define yourself based on actions and experiences. You are only the witnessing pure consciousness, which is not conditioned by any action, which is not conditioned by any result of action. So learn to dehabituate yourself from this habit of defining yourself constantly based on doership and enjoyership. That is what is the point here. The next point. Sadaikaropasya chidatmano vibho rantada murteranavadhya kirtehe naivan yatha kvapya vikari naste vinahamadhya samamushya samsrutihi sadaikarupasya chidatmanaha vibho anandamurtehe anavadhya kirtehe. A lot of adjectives, If for you, Sadaika Rupasya Chidatmana Vibho Anandamurtehe Anavadhya Kirtehe Anavadhya Kirtehe Na eva anyatha, otherwise Kva api Avikarinaha, for the immutable one, for you, who is the immutable one, Vina aham adhyasam amushya samsruti. For you, who are the unconditioned, immutable, eternal, omnipresent one, who is the truth of all existence, there cannot be any samsara but for the identification of the ego. Looks like a very simple thing. There is no samsara for you. There is only one. Because of this ego identification, only there is the sense of samsara. Otherwise, there is no samsara for you because you are Sachidananda. For you, who is the Sachidananda Brahman, who is the truth, there cannot be any samsara but for this one bug called identification with doership and enjoyership. So, by renouncing that and by eliminating that, may you get your may you claim your true nature. Tasmat ahankaramimam swashatrum. This this individuality creating habit, which is one's own enemy, Udgitam. It is like a thorn in the throat of a person who is enjoying food. You know, when a person is enjoying a food, there is a thorn in the throat. Like that, this sense of individuality creating habit, it is an enemy for a person. Vichidhya vijnana mahashina sputam. Vichidhya vijnana mahasina sputam. Having destroyed this completely with the great sword of the right knowledge, sputam directly, clearly, bhunkshva, enjoy, atma samrajya sukham, the joy of your own empire, the kingdom of the self, sovereignty over the kingdom of the self, freely, yateshtam, as you like. Means it's a dramatic way of saying that may you enjoy your true nature. So what he says, may you enjoy the joy of the kingdom of yourself as you wish, after you eliminate this enemy, which is the individuality creating habit, which is like a thorn in the throat of a person who is enjoying a nice dish. So destroy that with the right knowledge, and may you claim your own kingdom. It is like a king. He will not become the king, he is already the king. All he needs to do is to destroy that enemy who is obstructing his access to the throne. Similarly, to access your true nature means what? What is this accessing your true nature? To experience yourself as you are. How to experience yourself as you are? Do you feel big, one with the universe? No. It means you experience as you are means you don't experience yourself as limited. This self-experience can be explained only in negative, not this, not this, not this. No? You don't experience yourself as the body. You don't experience yourself as a person conditioned by the body and the mind. You don't experience yourself as the individual. You don't experience yourself as so and so. You don't experience yourself as the one who affects situations, nor as the one who is affected by the situations. Whatever you think you are not that. Okay? So you don't experience yourself in terms of whatever you think you are. What is the self-experience? Pure, unconditioned experience of oneself. It is called as Jagrata Sushupti. The sleep while you are awake. You are asleep to the world, you are awake to the self. He says, where the normal bound, the ignorant people are sleeping, there the enlightened person is awake. To which the ignorant people are awake, to that the enlightened person is asleep. You heard about this? We saw this in Bhagavad Gita. To which the enlightened person is awake, the ignorant are asleep. They are not aware of the true nature of the self. But the person who is aware of the true nature of the self, he is completely asleep. Means he is not aware, he is not in the domain of the normal transactional reality of the world, which is the reality for the people. Everybody is awake to that. Everybody is very busy responding to this world, deluded by ignorance. To this process, the enlightened person is not awake. He doesn't know. It's like you go and ask Ramana Maharshi in Second World War. There is so much suffering in the world. What to do? Don't you feel that what should we do for them? Where is suffering? There is only Ananda. There is no suffering. You may say Ramana Maharshi is escapist. He is not escapist. The point is that because there is a war, need not be suffering. He says, they will also say, it is because we prayed to Bhagavan, we got our problem solved. Which Bhagavan? That also he will ask. So positive thing also he will deny, negative thing also he will deny. You cannot understand that person unless you go through the teaching. So if you go through the teaching, you will understand the status of a person who is completely absorbed in the truth of the self. So he says, may you claim and enjoy the throne, the kingdom of yourself. Means why it is a kingdom? Because it is very grand, because it is unlimited. It is Satchidananda, it is unlimited, it is unconditioned happiness. It is free from all kinds of blemish that you think. So why, let's say, I ask you, do you want to become a queen? Do you want to become a king? Or do you want to become a queen? Who will say no? Yes. Why? Because if I become a king or a queen, I don't have the everyday problems that I have, economic problems, the comfort problems, all that are taken care. So I don't feel restricted by the conditions that belong to a person who is not a king or a queen. That is exactly why everybody wants to become a king or a queen. So that psychology is exploited by the teacher. He says, may you become the king in the kingdom of your own self. By eliminating the enemy who is this ego, this identity creating habit that is keeping you away from the true nature of yourself. So the whole thing is a process of what we call in Vedanta as nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam means constant recollection of the truth about oneself across all circumstances, so that a person, the mind is not lost in habitual error. When the mind is not lost in the habitual error of defining oneself as a doer or an enjoyer. This is the fulcrum of the whole thing. Naham karta, naham bhokta. Never define oneself as the doer or the enjoyer. You are not the experiencer, you are not the doer. Keep discriminating yourself out of this constantly whenever the mind is active. This process is through the light of the teaching. By remembering what you are. By remembering the words of the Vedanta. May you always free yourself from this habit. Dehabituate yourself. And there will be a point where this habit will not arise at all. That moment, you will claim the truth of yourself. Means what? You are not lost into the habit. You can enjoy the unobstructed happiness of the true nature. The mind will be reveling. The mind will be reveling in the unobstructed peace and happiness and the steadiness that is a consequence of realizing one's own true nature. That is what is recommended here. That is what enjoying one's own, experiencing liberation. Liberation is an experience. Okay? I am Brahman. Is a knowledge. I am that. I am the whole. I am the totality. Is a knowledge. As a result of this knowledge, there is an experience of liberation, which means the self is experienced as completely free from any condition that is associated with the mind and the body. You experience yourself as totally free from any conditioning associated with the mind and body. That is the experience of liberation. That is what is Swanubhutya, experiencing of the bliss of oneself, means this, which is the result of knowledge. Okay? So this is how it should be understood. Tato ahamader vinivartya vrittim संत्यक्त रागः परमार्थ लाभात् तुष्णी समास्वात्म सुखानुभूत्या पूर्णात्मना ब्रह्मणि निर्विकल्पः. Checking the activities of this individuality creating pattern, after that, tato ahamader vinivartya vrittim, thereafter ahamadehe vinivartya vrittim santyakta, renouncing all santyakta raga paramartha labha, through the experience of the gain of the supreme truth of oneself, tushnim, sarim, samasva. Nivritya vritti. Nivritti means vritti, pravritti means to go ahead in a certain, to go forward. Pravritti means to go forward in a process. Nivritti means tracing the process backward to its origin. Nivritti means non-doing. Okay? That means discouraging the different modifications of the ego. Discouraging the different modifications of the individuality. Tataha ahamader vinivartya vrittim. Vinivartya vrittim. Ahamader vrittim nivartya. Ahamadehe means dissolving back, discouraging all these different modifications of this individuality that keeps coming in the mind. Samtyaktaraha, give up all desires, all the passions and desire, give up all desires for any kind of experience. Paramartha labhat, because Paramartha labhat means because of the gain of the highest good, because of the value that the gain of the Paramartha means that which does not change in the three periods of the highest. Paramartha means that which is of the highest value. Labha, by the gain, because of the value, the inherent value of gaining that which is the highest. Becoming aware of the value of gaining what is the highest, remembering that which is of the highest value, may you renounce every other desire. Will anybody look for it like there are two guys, one person is coming in a Rolls Royce, another person is coming in a Dacia Logan. No, okay, Logan is a good car. One person is coming in a Dacia Berlina. Okay, another person is coming in a Rolls Royce. There is this guy who is aiding for parking in our Chendulbeki. He is going behind this Berlina for some, he'll park here, and then this person is not giving enough attention. Then there is a Rolls Royce coming. If he guides the Rolls Royce to the parking space, it is the same parking space, same guy. That driver of the Rolls Royce is also another poor guy. But the one who is coming in Rolls Royce, can he give 1 lei tip? So the Rolls Royce will give him 10 lei tip. So when he guides the Rolls, immediately the Berlina loses its value, the fellow runs to the Rolls Royce. Similarly in a petrol bunk, I go with my little Daewoo Tico, and another person comes in a fantastic BMW M5. And then immediately that person who is putting the petrol, the assistant, he will go to the BMW. He will not come to me. He will leave me alone with the petrol machine. Right? Why? Because of the something, whenever the mind is presented with something that is of a higher value, anything of the lower value loses its shine. It's natural. So he says, Paramartha labha. See, by realizing the value, that which is of the highest value, may you give up all your desires. When I know what is this self-realization, what is the value of gaining this, that which is the limitless. Hey, when you are getting what is limitless, all these little pleasures of the world, where are they? What is the definition of Vairagya? If you remember, long back we saw the definition of Vairagya. What is Vairagya? The dispassion. What is the definition of Vairagya? Iha anutrartha phala bhoga virada. For dispassion towards all attainments here and hereafter. What is this hereafter? The different pleasures of heaven, etc. If you are a Muslim, Muhammad is telling in your heaven, you will have 19,604 wives serving you. All of them are eternal virgins, always youthful. Everybody is like Miss Universe. 19,600, poor guy. Is there in Quran? I'm not joking. So this is very enticing because they are barbarians. You have to tell them like this. Suppose if you are a trainer, so if you can gain your nature as the limitless, anything else is it of any value in front of this? So Paramartha labha, by the gain of that which is the highest value, Santyaktya ragaha, give up all the desires and dehabituate yourself from creating this individuality. And then what? Be serene. Tushni means keep quiet, shut up. Samaswatma sukhanubhutya. Sukhanubhutya purnatmana brahmani nirvikalpaha. May you be free from all this tushni. May you be established in the serene silence of the experience of the true comfort which is in your own true nature. And in the truth of yourself as the complete totality, which is not of any modification, which is free from all kinds of limitations and modification. Okay. May you be established in the truth of yourself, in the silence of the truth of yourself. Enjoyment, the translation here is to be free from the duality through the enjoyment. Where is duality here? Tushnim samasva atma sukhanubhutya Purnatmana Brahmani Nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa, oh, that is saying free from any modification, may you be established in the truth of your own nature, in the quietness of the light of the truth of your own, the quietness that results from the light of the truth of your own nature. Giving up all the desires and dehabituating yourself from this individuality creating habit, may you be established in the silence that results from the vision of yourself as the totality. That is the teaching. Okay. Samula kripto vimahanaham punah yulle swadhyadicheta sakshanam sanjeevya vikshepashatam karoti nibhasvata pravrishi varido yatha. With this we stop, right? The same point keeps going on and on. So we will do this with the last, then the next is another topic, action, thoughts and vasanas, etc. Even though completely rooted out, this terrible sense of habit of individuality, if allowed to be revived in the mind even for a moment, returns to life and creates hundreds of distractions like a cloud ushered in by the wind during the rainy season. Samula kripto api mahanaham punah. पुनः विलेखितः स्याम यदि चेतसा क्षणं संजीव्य विक्षेपशतं करोति. See, this habit of creating this individuality, even though it is eliminated by knowledge, if it is allowed to survive in the mind for even one moment, instantly it comes to life and creates hundreds of distractions. Within a moment it creates hundreds of distractions. Just like how, the nabhasvata karoti, nabhasvata pravrishi varidah yatha. Just like that. So when this individuality is allowed to thrive in the mind even for a moment, it creates hundreds of distractions in a second, just like how this wind in the rainy season creates these clouds. These clouds dispersed by the wind in the rainy season. Because like how the clouds come and why the clouds analogy is given, the clouds come and they obscure the sunlight in the rainy season. The sunlight is shining. Because of the rainy season, how the clouds are brought and it hides the sun. Within a second, it creates this wind. Why it is compared with the wind? Because the vikshepa is like a wind. So many movements of the minds are created by this identity that is sustained for 1 second. As enlightenment has no limit, practice also has no limit. Something like this, he says. So it is like, means once you know what you are, to be committed to that knowledge requires much more dedication than it required for you to get that knowledge. So to be established and not in the true nature of oneself and not to be lost in a habitual error is not an easy thing. So don't think that because you eliminated this individuality a few times and you experienced your true nature, don't take it lightly. Even though a person may have experienced samadhi, don't take it lightly. 1 second, if you sustain this individuality, it is capable of creating hundreds of distractions in a second and obscure the vision of your true nature. There is a movie called Samsara, a Tibetan movie. This guy sits in a cave, 3 days, 3 years, 3 months and 3 days. With nails and everything, like that. They take him out. And then once he comes to the back to the monastery and then life is going on, some studying and all that. And he goes to the village, then he gets into some distractions. And then he gets, falls in love with the girl, gets married, he leaves, starts becoming a monk, he starts doing cultivation, goes into Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ तत्सत्. Any questions you can ask? 5 minutes.